All right, so today what I want to talk about is worship. And I know you probably could not get that from the title because the title is probably a little shocking, a little vague, a little mysterious, but I did that on purpose to kind of draw some people in. So if that worked and you're here because of the title, then thank you for being here. And I hope you stay and watch the whole video because we're going to be talking about some good stuff. But to really kick things off of this topic of worship, I got to ask a few questions. The first one being, do you worship? Now, for those of you watching, you probably fall into one of three camps. First, you answer probably no, I don't. I don't worship. Some probably answered yes. Just, yeah, I do. And those of you fall into this third camp, probably the over-analytical camp of, well, that question's a little bit vague. I need more information before I can answer properly. Well, the short answer to that question is, for those of you that said no, I hate to break it to you, but you do. Because we all worship something. We all do. Whether you know it or not, whether you're aware of it or not, you worship something. But based on your answers, I mean, this next question will be a little bit different. The answer to this question. And it's, well, what do you worship? Or who do you worship? So I want to unpack this a little bit. And I want to really hone in on why it's important. So I hope you're ready to have this conversation because I really think it's important. It is crucial that we understand why it's important to worship and why it's important to worship the proper thing or the proper person. Because if we're worshiping the wrong thing, it can be quite detrimental, not just to you as an individual, but to those around you, not just your immediate circles, but to everybody on a broader, bigger scale. And I'll explain this and unpack this. So I hope you're ready to have this conversation and to dive into this together. So with that said, let's dive into this. So why is worship so important and so critical? Why is it so important to make sure that we are worshiping the proper thing or the proper person? Well, this clip that I'm going to show us, I think really helps to unpack this point and to explain it. And this clip is from the Rebecca Lamb Wise podcast. And she was talking to these pastors from Echo Church in Sydney, Australia, Martin and Millicent Cedra. And so they kind of unpack this a little bit. And I really want to play this for you and then kind of explain some stuff on the back end. So go ahead and check this out.
Well, the people I feel sorry for in Islam are the women, to be honest. Like, the women are the most, the men love Islam. They get money, sex, greed, whatever they want. The women in Islam are oppressed. They have to cover their head from head to toe. They have to shut up in Afghanistan. Afghanistan in 2023, they passed a law that women can't speak, sing, or laugh in public.
That's crazy.
So really,
you feel the oppression.
Yeah.
You feel it.
If there's people to pray for, it's a Muslim woman.
Yeah. And I think the thing is, like, because it's like we're talking about the natural and the physical consequences, but there is a spiritual.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. Like, every time they pray, like, prayer is powerful.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like, when you're, like, we were designed to worship and pray to God. So when worship is going up to something else, there's a spiritual consequence to that.
100%.
And I remember talking to Dr. Morocco, and he talked about being in different countries and how there's more freedom and then like it's easier to operate spiritually and minister and stuff in other countries because there's not as much oppression, because there's not as much of a stronghold. And he talked about how in some other countries you're having to pray longer, harder, and more because you need more of a breakthrough. But he was talking about you need to pray either way. And so there is a spiritual consequence.
Yeah.
100%.
When David said, "Come, let us exalt his name together. Let's magnify the Lord with me." He says, "Oh, magnify the Lord with me." This is worship. When we worship God, we magnify him. What does magnify mean in the Hebrew? It means to make great or to make powerful. How can worship make God great? How can it make him more powerful? It can't. God is the most powerful. He's all powerful. But what worship does is it makes God's presence, power more at work in our lives and in our nation. So whichever God you worship, whichever God you magnify, you are making their presence manifest in the nation.
Yeah.
God is everywhere, but the more you worship him, the more he manifests. It's the same as Satan. The more you worship Satan, the more he manifests in the nation.
Yeah.
That's why it does matter.
Yeah.
The more you can be like, oh, they can have their prayer on the street, their call to prayer in New York. You understand you're inviting Satan into New York City when you do that.
Yep.
It is spiritual.
Yep.
And
So what Pastor Martin was saying in that clip about how he feels sorry for the Muslim women, and he talked about the law that was passed in 2023, I'm going to address that or kind of touch on that a little bit later. I have a second clip to show us, and I'm going to circle back to that first part and address that after the second clip. But what I want to focus on right now is a couple things of what Rebecca said in that clip. How she said when we worship something else, when worship goes up to something else, there is a spiritual consequence. It's true. We open the door to evil when we do that, when we worship something else. And then Millicent, Pastor Millicent, when she was talking about, she read that scripture and then she kind of talked about what worship is, how we exalt and we magnify, we make greater. And so when we worship God and we magnify him, we exalt him, we make him greater. Well, God is already great, like she said, because he's God. He can't be any more greater than he is because he's God. But we invite him in. We open the door, we invite him in. He becomes more present in our country, in our lives, in us. But when we worship something else, as a city, as a country, we open the door to Satan, to the devil. We magnify that, and then that comes in. And then his presence becomes more evident and more known in your life, in the country. And this is why it's critical when she was talking about that call to prayer. In these cities that are allowing these calls to prayer, these Muslim like traditions and ways of life that are totally anti-Christian, it's scary. This is why it's so important to make sure that you are worshiping the proper thing. Because if you don't worship the proper thing and you open the door to this evil, it will trickle down. It will trickle down. You think, oh, it's just me. I'm just worshiping. But it doesn't stop with you. You are probably the gateway. And then you then try to spill over and convince other people that this way is right. You get a lot of these people together and they start voting these people in. Before you know it, your freedoms get taken away. And you start discovering that you no longer live in a free country, because it happens little by little. Which leads me to the second clip. The second clip is from the Lecrae podcast, and he had a former Pussycat doll on, and her name is Kaya Jones, and she was talking about this notion. Well, I'll let her explain this to you because I think she just articulates this really, really well. So check this out, and then I'm going to come back and talk about this.
For fame, and I've done all these things to my body, and I'm just, it's grotesque. And it's like the devil doesn't chain you. He gives you each link and you in bondage yourself. It's not let me just wrap you around. It's here's one. And then you just start putting them together because you're just like, well, this is fun. And before you know it, the chains are so heavy that it's like, that is more scary to me, that I'm not going to make it into heaven, than anything any man on earth could ever do to me anyway, because it's already been done. I've gone through a lot. And so
Don't miss that. Don't miss what she said, what Kaya said in that clip. She said, the devil doesn't chain you. He gives you each link and you in bondage yourself. She's like, oh, this is fun. This is fun. You put them together and then before you know it, boom, you're chained. That is so profound, so incredibly profound, because it's so true. You don't notice it right away, but you're going down this path because he gives you each crumb little by little, and it looks so good, so appealing, so you keep going. Before you know it, you're inside a cage. You're inside a cage. And to circle back to what I was saying, like the first part of that first clip, what Pastor Martin was saying, when he talked about the law that was passed in 2023, he feels sorry for the Muslim women because the law that was passed where women cannot speak, sing, or laugh. This is what happens, is all of these people, these corrupt people, these socialists that, like you have in New York, right? The mayor of New York City, Mamdani, and these other places that are running like on socialists, Muslim, wanting to implement these kind of policies in place. And it sounds good, right? Oh, free buses, free healthcare, free this, free that. So you're like, ooh, each link, it looks so good, it looks so good. And then before you know it, communism. Link, 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 communism. And then you're like, how did we get here? How did we get here? Because you kept going after each link, and before you knew it, you changed yourself. We have to be careful. We have to be careful who we worship. We have to worship God, the one and only true God. And listen to what the Bible says. Pull from that. So many people are like, well, it's outdated, it's old, it's ancient. We've evolved so much, and that's so like outdated. What does he know? And so you try to do stuff that is like hip or cool, not even realizing that you're chaining yourself and you're in bondaging yourself. We have to really be careful with who we worship, what we exalt and what we magnify, what we praise. Don't follow celebrities. Don't follow famous people or things like that. You follow God. Follow what he says. If you read the Bible and you're like, I don't like what that says, that kind of makes me uncomfortable because now I have to change my life. And so, change your life. Change your life. So many of us will read the Bible, don't like what it says, and so instead of changing our life to fit the Bible, we try to change the Bible to fit our life. We try to say, well, he didn't really say that. No. That was Old Testament. No, that doesn't apply anymore. Or you just forego it altogether. You're like, well, I don't like that. That is so old. I'm not going to follow that. I'm going to do my own thing. And then you get so far down this path, worshiping yourself, worshiping celebrities, worshiping what society says, whatever it might be, you are worshiping something. Worship God. Go back to God. So I hope this helped unpack what worship is supposed to look like and who it's supposed to go to. It's supposed to go to God. Worship God. Follow him. Read his word. And as the scriptures say, don't be conformed to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. So transform yourself into somebody that follows God. Recognize what is going on. and course correct before it's too late. So I thank you so much for watching this week. Thank you for tuning in. Please stay safe out there. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoy this, and share it with others, and help encourage them as well. But until next week, I thank you so much for tuning in today and every single week. But stay safe out there, and as always, God bless.